if you have belly fat that you're trying to get rid of, or indeed overall weight loss, then if you are focusing more on cardio than you are on strength training, actually scuppering your progress. And today I'm going to break that down and explain why that happens. So welcome to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley. I share a weekly video with you every Monday. And if you have anything you'd like me to cover in a future video, please just drop it in the comments. I'd love to add that to my rotation. And in today's video, I'm going to break down the differences between cardio and strength training, how they may be preventing you reaching your goals, or indeed how they are going to help benefit you on getting to the goals that you want to achieve. That might just be fat loss. It could be looking more lean and sculpted. It could be a range of things like mobility, stability, just feeling strong and confident in your body. What I want you to take away from this too is that strength training, yes, it will make you look more athletic, but it has so many other advantages too. And you may have fallen into the same trap that I did. I went through perimenopause early, and I was through the whole thing by my early to mid 40s. And one of the first things that I noticed, apart from night sweats and hot flushes, was the gaining belly fat. I had never ever had a problem with weight gain throughout my entire life. I'd always been quite active. And when I started going through the perimenopause, I thought, oh gosh, well, I'm gonna swim more. I'm going to run more, and do the same thing that most of us think is just like do more cardio, and that's going to help you shift the excess fat. Well, it didn't. The belly fat actually kept coming up. I was swimming hard for about 3 miles a week, maybe 4 miles a week some weeks. And I was training with a lady that actually went on to win an Ironman competition. So I was training hard in the pool, proper heavy duty front crawl regularly. And on top of that, I was doing running. I started running. I hate running. I'm not a natural runner. Put me in the swimming pool any day. I was trying to bang out a few miles several times a week. And I just realized that what I was doing was not working. I was also restricting what I was eating, which can also contribute to belly fat gain. I'd literally created this recipe of mess, and it was not helping me get any closer to my goals. So I came across some workouts that I still stream to this day. I absolutely love them. The one I found was literally just a 25-minute sort of combined cardio and strength training workout program, but there was a lot more emphasis on strength training. I honestly thought they worked out behind the scenes. I could not believe that they would get such great results in 25 minutes. So I bought the program eventually. It was on DVD, and I started to do it, and I realized that in 25 minutes, I was getting good results. I hadn't made much change to my nutrition at that stage because my nutrition was quite good in any case. But over the years, I've learned that there are several things that we can tweak. I'm actually putting together a nutritional blueprint for menopause for women who want to understand how nutrition affects your menopausal symptoms. It also includes a logger that you can track what you're eating and drinking, and you'll find those patterns. So you'll work out what foods and drinks serve you and what don't. Also goes into gut health in a lot of detail, because that also really plays into our experience of menopause and also just general well-being in life. So for decades, cardio has been seen as the holy grail of weight loss, or fat loss as I like to call it, because we really need to shift our thinking as we go through perimenopause and menopause and beyond. You want to be focusing on fat loss, not weight loss, because weight is also consisted of our bone density, our muscle mass. And while the scale may not change much if you start strength training, which I highly recommend you do, you might not see that much of a change on the scale, but you'll see a massive change in your measurements and how clothes fit you, and also how you feel. As we go through perimenopause, that is the worst time, definitely. It can last between 8 and 10 years. It's when your hormones are really erratic, and that's when you're likely to experience the worst symptoms. As you go through postmenopause and beyond, things do settle down. If you're aware of the foods and drinks that you're eating and the symptoms that they trigger for you, by the time you get to postmenopause, you should have a really good idea of what works for you and what does not serve you. It's not just about calories in, calories out. Calories are part of the equation, but calories are not created equal either, which is why I've designed this menopause nutrition blueprint, because I want women to understand that we need to feed ourselves for health and longevity and energy, and in a way that supports our gut health, because gut health is absolutely foundational to literally how you show up every single day. Once you get your gut health nailed, it has a massive impact on your menopause symptoms. So while the amount of calories that we eat every single day does have an impact on your weight and also how you feel, hormones, our sex hormones, play a really important role in that. So as our sex hormones decline, they're erratic through perimenopause, but on the whole, they're coming down because our ovaries are no longer going to function. We're moving out of childbirth mode. So we no longer have a need for those higher levels of sex hormones. As they start to fall, what happens is our adrenal glands back up the job of the ovaries. Our adrenal glands pump out adrenaline and cortisol, two of our stress hormones. So as our sex hormones decline, our cortisol levels do rise. Well, cortisol is one of the reasons that you might be struggling with that belly fat. And it's a really important thing that you need to remember when we're talking about the differences between strength training and cardio. Because too much cardio can actually put stress on your body, which then is encouraging that cortisol level to go even higher. Around your belly, you have 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors than you do in any other part of the body, which is one of the reasons why you gain belly fat as your sex hormones fall and cortisol rises. It's also an evolutionary survival strategy because in periods of lean, we've got fat that is readily available for the body to use rather than having to get it from the extremities of other parts of our body. The thing to bear in mind is that when cortisol rises, it causes our insulin to rise. Insulin is your fat storing hormone. So one thing to understand with cardio, if you are a long distance runner or an endurance athlete and you really get that runner's high, it's a really tough one because what you're likely doing is you're not only spiking the cortisol levels in your body, which is contributing to that belly fat gain, also breaking down the muscle mass that you already have. As we get older, beyond menopause, we tend to lose around about 1% of our muscle mass per year. That doesn't sound very much, but over the course of time, that does mount up. And also, as we get older, it sort of gets worse. As an average, just understand that every year you're losing more and more muscle mass. You've probably heard of osteoporosis as well. Osteoporosis is brittle bone disease, and cortisol is what is causing this. So cortisol, that stress hormone, not only is it contributing to belly fat, it has a catabolic effect on the body. So it breaks down your muscle tissue. It breaks down your bone tissue. It makes you more wrinkly. It breaks down the collagen, the elastin. So that's why when you go through the menopause, all of a sudden you're thinking, God, I'm starting to look a bit older now. And, suddenly these lip wrinkles appear and other wrinkles appear and it sort of all starts to go southwards. That is largely a response of cortisol. So when you're doing large amounts of cardio, you're consistently making that cortisol fire off. There are healthy ways of doing cardio, and most good strength training workout programs will indeed include some aspect of cardio. When you're strength training, you're going to feel your heart and your lungs like, poof, if you're doing it properly. The whole point of doing any kind of exercise program is that it challenges you. I work with a whole group of ladies. In fact, I have a free Facebook group if you would like to join us in there. I do share free workouts in there, but it's largely a very holistic space. So it's mental health, physical health, sharing our wins. Right now, we're diving into a sugar detox, but every month we have a different theme. So there's a link in the description box if you'd like to join in, and you're more than welcome. It'd be really fun to get to know you better. I'm just going to share my screen with you for a second because I want you to see the combination of the sorts of moves that I do 4 to 5 times a week. And that since I'm 54 right now, when I started doing strength training, reducing the amount of cortisol, and I don't really focus particularly on belly fat loss per se, because it just happens when you feed your body like a human, and also when you're doing more strength training than you are cardio. Bearing in mind strength training consists of a certain amount of cardio anyway, you'll get results which keep you lean, they keep you sculpted, they'll help get rid of the belly fat. I mean, this is literally something I just put together this morning, but it gives you a good idea of the sorts of moves that you can do that are based around strength training. I can see the one on the right, there's a small amount of jumping there. If I wanted to completely take it low impact, that'd be dead easy to do. But there's a lot of weights there, there's some body weight exercises. There's everything that I do there can be completely modifiable to be zero impact. You'll see the one on the right hand side, there's a little bit of jumping at the end. If I didn't want to jump, I would just go up onto my tiptoes and take out the impact like there, or I could just raise my knees. And so that's given you a glimpse into the crazy world of Kate. Those videos were not done for this video. I did share them in my my very private community. But I just wanted you to see a good idea of the sorts of moves that you can do, that you can incorporate. Those were sped up just for time factor. But strength training can involve your body weight. It can involve dumbbells, it can involve barbells, it can involve resistance bands and loops. Strength training is when you're focusing on building that muscle mass and you're not going to get bulky. A lot of women say to me, oh, I don't want to strength train. I don't want to look like sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're not going to. We do not have the levels of testosterone in our bodies that are going to make us bulky unless you want to, unless, you think, okay, I want to train for a bikini competition, then you would follow a very specific method of training. For the vast majority of us, we just want to feel confident in our bodies. We want to be strong. If we have to lift something heavy, we don't want to cough and then put our back out. As we get older, we need to be mindful of the protein that we're eating as well, because the vast majority of us do not eat enough protein. To build muscle, you need to be eating protein. I try and eat a pre-workout and a post-workout heavy protein meal. In fact, everything I eat during the course of the day has some element of protein in it. And when you eat more protein, you're going to be able to feed those muscles with what they need to actually grow. It's really important too that you start at a level that is safe for you. I've been doing these workouts for years, so for me 5 or 6 times a week is fine. One of those is actually probably going to be an agility day, which includes some strength, but it's more of a sort of a recovery day, active recovery day. I also walk my dogs in the mountains most days, and that brings me on to sort of safe versions of cardio. So brisk walking is known as steady state 2. You can do as much brisk walking as you want to. It's really, really good for your health. It'll help you lose some extra pounds. And it's also very good for your mental health, particularly if you're out in nature doing your walking. I know a lot of people, particularly if they work from home, they have a treadmill that they can just walk on, which goes underneath their desk. So during meetings and things like that, it's quite handy if you're able to do that. High intensity interval training is also a really good way of getting your cardio. But if you're doing high intensity interval training, you don't want to be doing it for a long period of time. It literally is small pieces of sort of 30 seconds of really maximum effort, and then letting your heart rate come down again. And then, within sort of 20, 30 seconds, you'll bring it back up, but just for short periods of time. That's why I follow a comprehensive workout program, because it does everything for me. I'm not thinking, oh, okay, so I've done 20 lunges and I've done 40 squats and I better go and do something that's high intensity. I find it much easier to follow a program. And there are so many programs out there. There's free, there's paid for. I would find something that works for you. Or indeed, if you love going to the gym, sign up with a PT so that you learn what you need to do properly, so that you're following the correct form, so that you're not risking hurting your back, or you're putting too much pressure on your shoulders, so that you've got a steady platform to build up from. When you're building more muscle, you're naturally boosting your metabolic turnover. So not only are you building muscle with strength training, the more muscle you have, the more caloric burn you will also benefit from. Also, the more muscle that you have, it's linked to longevity. When we build muscle, it stimulates the secretion of our human growth hormone. That is sort of known as the elixir of youth. So if you want to stay feeling and probably looking younger for longer, focus on strength training. When you are working out, when you're building muscles also release myokines. Those are what are known as the hope molecules. They help with your mental health. They help you feel happier. With a cardio session, you'll burn calories during that cardio session. With strength training, you continue to burn for a good 24 to 36 hours afterwards. So a sort of half an hour of intense cardio versus half an hour of good strength training, you're going to burn a lot more calories from the strength training than you would the cardio. The problem also with the cardio is the fact that it is breaking down some of that muscle mass that you may have already built. So apart from spiking your cortisol levels, it's also nibbling away. It's causing you to burn up some of that muscle that you may have been building earlier on in the week with your 1 or 2 strength training workouts a week. So I would definitely put the emphasis on strength training. When you're building muscles, you're also strengthening the bones, because as muscles pull on the bones and the tendons and the ligaments, it actually creates more density in your bones. It's also going to help you with your joints. Now, if you have funny joints, I've got a funny right knee. I've had dodgy knees since I was a youngster, in actual fact, but I seem to have a bit more of an issue with my right one right now. At the moment, I'm still able to jump. If I get to the stage where I'm not able to jump, I'm just going to do it zero impact. There are so many workouts that you can do where you don't need to jump, and I think that puts a lot of people off. You work within your own ability envelope. So you'd always start with something that challenges you, because if it's not challenging you, you'll make no gains. But also that doesn't challenge you so much that it puts you off, it intimidates you, it makes you feel sick. You don't want that sort of thing either. It's about starting where you are at. When I first started my strength training work, I wasn't lifting the weights that I was doing in those videos at the beginning. I've gradually worked up to those over the years, and I'm at the stage now I could actually do with buying a few more. So I try and double up on. I've got some little weights that have a loop, so on the, like when I'm using my heavier weights, I also add the ones with the loops to try and make it a bit more aggressive. You just start where you are at, and you will find you'll make significant improvements. I'm working with a lady right now who's just doing so well. She's had to learn a lot about her nutrition, and she messaged me the other day, and since September, she's lost 18 inches and she's down 14 pounds. Now, you might think, oh, but I think I'd want to weigh less than that. I'd want a bigger weight loss than that. Well, not necessarily, because she's building muscle. She's actually focusing on strength training. So she's actually building muscle, which is why the scale is a real poor indicator of success. Do your measurements, do your before photos if you want to. If you hate the idea of a before photo, don't stress over it. Just take your measurements. I always say one of the best things to do is try and get a piece of clothing on that you can't yet get on, and notice how tight it is when you're trying to get it on. If you can, take a photo, because you really want it when you look back, and then you've got these trousers on or this skirt on, and you've got like a big gap around your waistband. It makes you feel so great when you can really acknowledge the progress that you've made. But at the very minimum, take your measurements, because those will indicate what's working for you and what's not serving you. And know that every day might be slightly different, particularly if you're perimenopausal, if you're still having the odd occasional period, you're going to be bloating up at some points of the month. You might get those sugar cravings. You've not eaten quite so well the week prior to your period. Don't get stuck in the minutiae of it. See that the progression that you're wanting to achieve is over the long term, and it's going in the right direction in general. So people say to me, should I weigh myself every single day? I think for a couple of weeks, it's not a bad idea, because it gives you a really great insight into what foods work for you and which do not. One of the reasons I've created this menopause symptom nutrition blueprint is because it also includes tracking templates, so that you can monitor what you ate throughout the course of the day and then how you feel immediately afterwards. And it will help you find those patterns that work for you. And if you choose to weigh yourself while you're doing that sort of in-depth tracking, it just gives you extra data, and it is just data. Whether the scale goes up or down, if you have a goal of weight loss, of course you're going to be happier when the scale goes down. But if you really struggle with that number on the scale, just ditch the scales. How you feel and what your measurements are telling you is a much better indicator of your overall progress. How do you get started if you're thinking, well, what should I do? Depending on what your fitness level is right now, would depend on how you create a plan going forward. If you're absolutely brand new to fitness, I would just focus on strength training 2 to 3 times a week and going for a brisk walk, ideally every day. That way, you're going to start to build up muscle. That muscle is then going to start to burn more calories, and you're going to have that metabolic boost. It's going to help you with your happy hormones. It will help you with your motivation, because I know a lot of people say, I haven't got the motivation to work out. Motivation is largely derived by our gut health. Well, when you're strength training, it's really positive for your gut health. The food that we eat these days, even if you eat healthy food, a lot of it, by the time it gets to your plate, is pretty much devoid of nutrients. Plus, the soil it's grown in is so overworked these days. So we really do ideally need to be incorporating more fermented foods into what we eat. If you absolutely love your cardio, and I have a lady that I work with who just loves long distance running, and she's got the belly fat, which she wants to get rid of. She's also got the sugar cravings, which are also driven by cortisol. It is a decision. It's what is more important to you. And I think it's slowly dawning on her that she's going to have to back off some of that long distance running to start more strength training, so she can get rid of the belly fat. And so she's not left with that feeling of frazzle, because while she loves her runner's high, she's also got those elevated levels of cortisol in her body. She's struggling with anxiety. There are various things going on, and the long distance running is not serving those. So while she gets that immediate sense of enjoyment and she loves being out and about, it's not serving her long-term health. And bearing in mind, we lose muscle mass every single year and bone density every single year, unless we're strength training. If you're strength training, your bone density is going to be good. My DEXA scans are brilliant. I'm 54. I went through the perimenopause early. Technically, I'm one of those people that should have brittle bones. I fell over not long ago. I bounced really well, didn't break a thing. And we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be breaking things when we fall over. Okay, occasionally it happens, but if your strength training, your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, your balance is going to be so much better. So future-proof your body, future-proof your mind, because strength training, it helps on so many different levels. There is not one thing that will have a negative impact when we talk about strength training on your body. The only thing that may occur is if you're not doing it with proper form, and then you might injure yourself because you've not followed proper technique. So always focus on your form first, form over everything else. But beyond that, remember that no matter where you're at, whether you love your cardio right now and you just need to accept that you need to start more strength training and reduce the cardio that you're doing, or whether you're absolutely brand new to fitness, in which case, just get some help. I message me if you want to. I would be more than happy to help get you started on. I make no money from this. So, I will give you my advice. A lady messaged me the other day. I sent her a 10-minute message. I'm more than happy to help you get started in the way that is best for you. If you're already strength training and you're getting the belly fat accumulation still, that's when I'd ask you more about your nutrition and also your sleep, your various other lifestyle factors, because there is something that's spiking your cortisol, which is causing your fat storing hormone to increase, that is affecting that belly fat. Just also know that if you're thirsty, the body will not shed fat. When your stress hormones and your insulin is raised, you will not shed fat. So keep well hydrated. Feed your body like a human. So cut out the refined sugars, the processed foods as much as you can, and you will find that you'll be able to build lean muscle. You're not going to get bulky because you have not got enough testosterone in your body, and you will start to feel incredible, and that belly fat will go down. If you want to get really granular about it, I would keep a food and drink journal and just see what has a positive impact and what has a negative impact on you over the course of a couple of weeks. You don't need to do it forever. I'd be interested to hear what your experiences are in the comments below. What is your biggest challenge with strength training? Is it getting started? Is it staying consistent? Is it knowing what to do? Is it knowing how to progress because you've reached a certain level and now you've plateaued? There are solutions to all of these things, and I thank you for your company. I hope you found today's video helpful, and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week.